Hi there, my name is Steve and I'm going to give you hopefully a general overview of FASD, otherwise known as fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, some things that you should know about FASD, as well as some of the things as educators that we can do to best accommodate people in our lives, in our educational lives that have FASD. So fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, when we talk about it, we actually refer to it as a spectrum disorder, which means that there's a wide array of effects that can have a lot of different impacts on each individual. The thing about FASD is that it's totally preventable. Of course, when expectant mothers consume alcohol while pregnant, it has implications on her unborn child, which can range in a variety of different things, from permanent birth defects to some other associated issues that I'll talk about in a short bit. But nevertheless, it is preventable, but as we see, a lot of pregnancies are unplanned. So the expectant mother does not actually know that she is pregnant and then consumes alcoholic beverages, at which point there is a risk for any number of impacts of FASD. As I mentioned before, FASD is a spectrum disorder, which means there's a wide array of effects that can impact each individual that has FASD. So within that spectrum, or within the umbrella of FASD, we can see things like fetal alcohol syndrome, partial fetal alcohol syndrome, alcohol-related neurodevelopment disorder, and then also alcohol-related birth defects. Within our own country, within Canada, it's estimated that 9 out of every 1,000 babies born in Canada actually have FASD, and considering that it's a totally preventable thing, that number, it seems high, doesn't it? Now let's talk about some associated issues with FASD. So various associated issues that go along with FASD can include different learning disabilities, difficulty controlling impulses, so there'll be different things that the individual with FASD may have an impulse to just go ahead and do, and they have difficulty sort of controlling themselves, poor or inconsistent memory, being oversensitive to some things but also being undersensitive to other things. I'd mentioned before there is the existence, or can be the existence, of physical disabilities, as well as hyperactivity or dysmaturity. And what I mean by that is, as the individual continues to physically grow, so as they get older, they physically mature, however their mind can take some time to catch up. So the mind remains considerably younger, and there's an underdeveloped sense of maturity with those individuals. Some secondary traits that go along with FASD a lot of times can come about because of a lack of diagnosis. So if we do not know that an individual has FASD, or a younger student has FASD, then sometimes secondary traits can become more prevalent. If we know about the presence of FASD, then we can begin to incorporate different types of treatment, not treatment, but set up different types of supports for those individuals, which can then sort of dissuade, or not necessarily block, but set up barriers to prevent these secondary traits. So we do see a fair bit of acting out. Sometimes we see personal and social anxieties. These individuals with FASD can also have frustrations, just in whether it be dealing with different types of situations or dealing with change. When faced with these situations, they can sort of shut down and disassociate themselves with people in the room or people in their lives. later on in their lives, we can see drug use or alcohol being used as a coping mechanism, and then destructive behavior. Now, all of these things sometimes are used actually as protective or defensive actions. So they set up these barriers or set up these walls against the things that are causing them anxiety or grief in an effort to try and protect themselves from feeling pain or feeling anxious or frustrations that are being brought upon themselves due to all of these external sort of influences. So now let's look at the role of community agencies to support families as well as school professionals in educating a student with FASD. So I spoke with both people locally within my own community, as well as researched some services that are available for families and children as well as students. One of the things that I actually found that was actually a little bit upsetting was that there's no official funding from any specific ministry for those individuals whose job is to primarily provide support locally and at the education level for students with FASD. So things like travel expenses or any other expenses that kind of go along with these people's positions that they have, it's extremely difficult for them to do their job properly and do it to be able to provide a higher level of service because of the lack of funding that is available. One of the things they had looked at was the HANDS organization, and they provide school-based mental health services for a wide variety of students, but with them, they will go into an educational setting and assess the child's needs. From there, they'll develop an individual plan that's tailored to the needs of the students. So take a look at what the students' needs are as well as their sensitivities, and hopefully develop a cohesive and comprehensive plan that works best for them. Then with that, the aim is to increase success within the school setting, and they communicate as well with the child's family as to the progress of the child as well. There's 3 levels of help as well as involvement that can take place within the classroom. So working directly with teachers to collaborate and develop a plan. Then they also look at a group setting as well. So this is where students are actually taught new skills to promote success within a school environment. And then they practice those skills that they have learned in the group setting and encouraged to develop those skills on a daily basis. So whether they be social skills or interaction skills or whatever the case may be, those skills develop within the group setting, and then they go forward within their everyday life and hopefully are able to practice those skills sort of day to day. Then we look specifically to individual students, so working one-on-one, both the classroom and, there is both classroom and group involvement within this process. However, it's also using one-on-one support to teach new skills, coach, and provide counseling support within the school setting. And that's individual, more of a one-on-one personal experience versus sort of a group setting. So I do want to talk about some different strategies that can be used to educate a child with FASD within the classroom. And I feel like this particular topic I would like to explore a little bit more and hopefully have some people elaborate on some strategies that teachers can use within the classroom environment. But from what I read, it seems as though that specialized social skills training, literacy, numeracy, the use of technology, and workplace prep training is important for those with FASD. So especially specialized social skills training, so allowing these people with FASD to be able to communicate not only with confidence, but also to be able to move forward within a variety of different settings, not just ones that are most familiar to them, so outside the school setting, to be able to communicate with others. I have found that within the environment, the school environment, providing structure and support to these individuals as well as supervision. Providing a routine, for example, is extremely important within the school setting. And then classrooms should feature fewer stimulants for those students, and sort of sticking with the mentality that within a classroom, less is more, because different things around the room can be overstimulating and can affect those students. So the next thing that I do want to talk about are some cautions to educators for working with students with FASD. Maybe not necessarily cautions, but they're more considerations. So a lot of times within a school setting, students with FASD, especially those who are never diagnosed, may struggle with the following. Learning based on memory and understanding ideas. So the retention of ideas and the memorizing of things doesn't generally stick. So learning based on memory and then understanding the things that they've learned, whether it be the day before, the day after, the week before, can be challenging. Sometimes there is difficulty adapting to rules and formats. So the rules of school are, there's a lot of different rules, whether it be about student conduct, whether it be about our day, this is how we go about our day, this is our schedule. Sometimes that can be challenging. As well, there can be a lot of challenges budgeting time. So if you're allocated a specific amount of time that you have to either finish a test or finish some work or even 20 minutes to eat your lunch, those can be some challenges for those students that have FASD. So lastly, how can teachers ensure that a student with this syndrome reach their full potential? I think education is most definitely one of the most important things that an educator can do to help a student reach their full potential. If we understand how that person learns or the struggles that they may have with the learning process, and we can set up structures whereby they're set up to succeed, then I think that if we understand how they learn or what prevents them from learning, then those are most definitely some strengths that we can work with or work towards in order to help them succeed and gain momentum within their educational environment. So developing routines for these students, a routine based on consistency is extremely important. The FASD brain has difficulty absorbing information and processing, as well as interpreting info and decision making. So if we can set up processes that assist those students with those struggles based on a solid structure routine for them, then it can assist them not only in having successes, but also just generally staying in school. Because the reality is a lot of these students don't continue with education because of the struggles that they have with either a lack of routine or lack of structure. Also, creating a calm environment, ensuring that your classroom isn't too busy, it's not too rambunctious and over the top, because it can be a frustrating environment for these students, as well as creating a space where they can go and sit and find sort of calmness within their own classroom to be able to ensure that they feel comfortable within their own classroom and preventing a lot of those frustrations and anxieties from being present or even boiling over in general.